This one here, this is week 4 group activity, decimals, fractions, and percent. Write the decimal out. Write the decimal out in numbers. So here we can see that the decimal point will be where the and is. So you write out the whole part, 635. And it says here, go out to the hundreds place and backfill it with 77. So our final answer is going to be 635.77. Now for this one here, question 2, convert the fraction 9 over negative 6 to a decimal, then round to 3 decimal places if necessary. So what I really have is a negative 9 divided by 6, and that simplifies. Both sides are divisible by 3. Negative 9 over 3, 6 divided by 3 gives me 3 halves negative. And we can divide that fractional part here. 2 will go into 3 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 will go into 10. My decimal point there. 2 will go into 10 5 times. 2 times 5 is 10. And the remainder is 0. So my answer here is going to be a negative 1.5. Question 3, write it out as a decimal. So you can look at this decimal places here. This place will represent 1 over 10. This would be 1 over 100. And this would be 1 over 1,000. Okay, so when we start filling this in, we would have 5 over 1,000 will be right here, and we'll backfill zeros. And that's our answer there. For this one here, write out 0.26 as a fraction. That's in the hundreds place. So as a fraction, that would be 26 over 100. And we can simplify that. We can divide 26 by 2. We can divide 100 by 2. Then that gives me 13 over 50. And that's our answer. So here, what I did was counted the number of spaces between here and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 spaces. Ten spaces. Okay, so if I have 7.0 minus 6 and it was 1. Now if I take that 1 and divide it by 10, I end up with 0.1. So each space is 0.1. Okay. So for A, to get A, if I started at 6, and I counted up 1, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 4, 6.5, 6.6. So A is going to be 6.6. And for B, since I know the space is 0.1, and if I count down 1, 6.0, going down a tenth will make it 5.9. And since this is 7, and going up a tenth will make that 7.1. And that's number 5. So here again, a count between 9357 and 9358. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So between here and here, I count 10 spaces. Okay, so 93.580 minus 93.570. 0 there. 8 minus 7 is 1. And then I have here 5 minus 5 is 0. And 0 and 0. So this distance here between 9357 and 9358 is 0.01. That's that space there. And there's 10 smaller spaces in between it. So if I divide that by 10, it made it 10 times smaller. And if I made that 10 times smaller, what would that become? 0.001. It's going to shift the decimal place one more place. And if I made it 10 times smaller, it would shift over one place. So each space is 0.001. Okay. So if I have here 93.571, go up 1 unit, that would be my A. Okay. And here if I have 93.58 and I go up 1 space, that would become 93581. That would be my B. And if I count down, from 57, 570. Since it's thousands here, I'm going to count it down. And I count down one, that will become 569 from here. 569, 568, 567, 566. So C is 566. So that would become 90. That would be my C. So for this one here, we can rewrite it as a negative 9.3 plus a positive 12.8. And from there, it's just subtraction. 8 minus 3 is 5. 12 minus 3 is 3. That's our answer. So here I have 81, 1,000. So here again, tenths, hundreds, thousands. This will be 1 over 1,000 here. So when I start, this will be 1 over 100. And this will be 1 over 10. So when I start filling this in, I fill it in from the furthest place out. 1 and an 8, 81 over 1,000. Put a 0 there. And what are they asking for? It's equivalent to what fraction in reduced terms? So that's how you would have it in decimal form. And you can see that here I have 8.1% as a decimal. You would just shift the decimal place over 2 places. 1, 2. So my decimal form is 0.081. Then we can take that 0.081 and write it as a fraction. We would have 81 over 1,000. And that's the fraction form here. And that's our answer. This one here, I'll have 12.5% as a fraction. I would have 12.5 over 100. And I can clear the decimal, multiplying both sides. Numerator and the denominator by 10. So I have 125 over 1,000. And I simplify that fraction. You see, I know that 25 will go into 125. How many quarters is that? 4, 5 times. And how many quarters are there in 1,000? 40 quarters are in $10. And this simplifies further. 5 will go into 5 1 time. 5 will go into 40 8 times. That's your answer. So this one here in separable proportion. 5 6 is something to 100. 5 times 100. And cross multiply and solve for x. So I would have 5 times 100. It's the same thing as 6x. 5 times 100 is 500. equal to 6x. 500 divided by 6 is equal to x, which is equal to 83 1/3%. Or round it approximately to nearest tenth and make it approximately 83 1/3%. Next one here is equivalent to what fraction in reduced terms? So here we have 82 over 100. These are both even numbers, so 2 will go into 82 41 times. 2 will go into 100 50 times. And that's your answer there. That's the answer there. Convert to a decimal. 448%. Convert it to a decimal. I can shift it 2 places to the left. 1, 2. It's the same thing as 4.48. So with this one here, 40% of what number is 76? So what comes after of is the whole, and that's our part, and that's our percent over 100. So the part that comes after of is the whole, and in this case, the whole is unknown. We have our percent, which is 40 over 100. So we have our percent, and the part that comes after of is unknown, so this must be 76. Okay, so we can cross multiply and divide. We would have 76 times 100 is the same thing as 40x. So x is equal to 76 times 100 divided by 40. Okay, and we end up with, this is our x. X is equal to, in this case, 190. I mean, this one here, in this case here, the after tax total. The after tax total was how much? 497.72. In the pre-tax total, that's what we're trying to find. I'll call that X. And I have 1 plus the rate, and the rate is 8.2%. I'll put it as a decimal. 0.8. So I have here 1.082x is equal to 497.72. So x will be equal to 497.72 divided by 1.082. In this case, it's 460. The 12 here. root 448% to a decimal. I simply shifted the decimal place 2 places to the left. Gives me 4.48 for my answer. Question 13, 40% of what number is 76? So I set up my proportion. What comes after of is the whole, and that's unknown. I have my percent, that's 40. Okay. And what's left is the part. So I set up my proportion and cross multiply and divide, and I end up with 190. Question 14 for my answer. Question 14. The man realized he lost a detailed receipt from a store and it's only credit card receipt with the after-tax total. If the after-tax total was $497 and the tax rate was 8.2%, what was the pre-tax total? Subtotal. So the after-tax total is equal to the pre-tax total multiplied by 1 plus the tax rate. In this case, the pre-tax total was $497.72, and we don't know what the pre-tax subtotal was, but we know the tax rate, and I put that in as a decimal as 0.082. Okay, so we can plug that in, and we have 497.72 divided by 1.082 gives me $460. For number 15, 1.5% of what number is 65? So I'll set up my proportion there. Part that comes after of is the whole. Okay. And I have my percent, got 1.5 over 100. And what's left is my part. So I set up the proportion and I cross multiply and divide. And I end up with 110. Number 16, I have a proportion. If you use a proportion there, what number is 7.1% of 25? Set up my proportion. What comes after of is the whole. Then I have my percent, and what's left is the part. So I can cross multiply and divide. I end up with 1.775 for my answer. Question 17. Question 17. 340 is what percent of 170? So set up my proportion there. Part that comes after of is the whole. And my percent is unknown, so what's left is the part. I can cross multiply and divide. Okay. And simplify it, and x is equal to 200%. Question 19. Question 18. Find the amount of tax in the tax rate, round to the nearest hundredth of a percent. What we're given is the cost of the item. What we're given is the cost of the item and the selling price. So the amount of tax is going to be the difference, which is 1746. Okay. So we have the amount of tax, the tax rate. We can find that using the amount of tax. It's going to come from amount of tax equal to the cost of the item times the tax rate. The amount of tax is 1746. The original cost of the item was 126. Okay. And you can divide, and we end up with 13.86. That's the amount of tax. That's the tax rate there. That should be the tax rate. Change that. That's the tax rate. Mm-hmm. And then number 19. Simple interest formula. I is equal to PRT. P is 6800. R is 0.07. It's a decimal, and T is 1. And I plug in and multiply, and I is equal to 476. Question 20. Joyce paid $76 for an item at the store. It was 55% off. The original price was the original price. So since she got 55% off, she paid 45% of the original price. What was the original price? So she paid $76, which is 45%. You can set up a proportion there and find the original price, which happens to be $170.